Welcome back to Jacques in the Garden. In today's video, you might have already guessed it, but we're going to be talking about garlic and specifically how to plant garlic, how I like to plant garlic, and everything in between from start to finish. You might be wondering why I have 3 soggy bags of garlic sitting in front of me. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but before we do that, let's talk about the difference between a hardneck and a softneck garlic. So really quickly, this is softneck. You could see as I flop the top, it's very soft. And then this is a hardneck variety, so if I try to bend it, it's resistant. It's essentially a piece of wood inside. The essential difference between these two is that a softneck garlic, in general, will do better in a warmer climate like San Diego. It won't need as much of that cold weather to help it form these cloves and bulbs. Now, a hardneck garlic is thought to have more flavor than the softneck variety, or at least a more intense flavor, and it benefits a lot from cold weather. So this is a much hardier variety of garlic. If you live in an area, for example, that has snow or frost that's much more intense than San Diego, you're gonna probably wanna stick to a hardneck garlic. It can handle sub-freezing temperatures as long as it's buried deep in the ground covered in mulch. The other major thing that I'll mention between these two is that a hardneck garlic won't store as long as a softneck garlic. So if your main purpose is to produce a lot of garlic to store for the whole year, softneck garlic can last up to like 9 months, whereas most hardnecks, I believe, cap out about 4 months, maybe 6 months. So those are the sort of major differences between them. I will say that generally people recommend in zones like 9+ that you put your hardneck garlic in the fridge for about 40 days. That's called vernalization, which is a process of cold weather to sort of trick the hardneck garlic to think that you're in a colder climate. Now, this garlic comes from Peaceful Valley. I have 2 different varieties of true garlic here. I have Music, and then I have the Russian red garlic. So these are both hardneck varieties. The other thing that I have here are shallots and elephant garlic. Now, elephant garlic is, I believe, technically a leek. It's not truly garlic. It has a less intense flavor, but you can use it similar to garlic and even eat it raw. Shallots are basically a delicious love child of like an onion and a garlic. It's incredible in cooking. You saute them up. They have this sweet, kind of spicy flavor. Absolutely wonderful. You could sort of treat them in the same way as garlic. One thing you'll notice on this bag here is that the Russian red, the cross-section shows that it has a lot of small cloves compared to the Music. Now, this is true. When I split all these heads apart, I actually counted them, and you get about 56 individual cloves per pound for the Music. For the Russian red, I got 75 per pound, but I also got, 30 small cloves. So a small clove of garlic, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is, for example, this is a small clove of garlic, and then this would be more akin to like a normal size clove of garlic. The bigger the clove that you plant, the bigger the head of garlic that you will get. So when you're thinking about maybe you don't have enough space to plant everything you got, you're gonna wanna make sure you prioritize your bigger cloves and keep the smaller ones to either eat, you could cook them up for dinner, it doesn't matter, or what I like to do is actually plant them really densely together. So instead of the spacing that I'll use on the standard garlic, I'll go much tighter and harvest it in early spring is green garlic. That you could just chop up and eat like a green onion that has a wonderful garlic flavor. So I'm saving all my small cloves to plant for green garlic. And that's kind of the major differences and reasons why you would consider looking at the clove size. As I mentioned, we actually carry this Peaceful Valley garlic on our store right now. And with any garlic supplier, it doesn't matter how lucky you are, you're gonna have probably at least one bad clove. So a bad clove looks like this. It has general rot near the base of the bulb there. And this is something you just don't wanna plant. Now, it might not have any disease that's going to transmit into your garlic, but the essential root of it is that it's starting to rot. So you don't want to put this in the ground. It's just going to keep rotting and not give you anything. And the worst case scenario, it could propagate disease. I'll also mention that while you're splitting your actual bulbs, whether it's shallots or garlic, if you damage the bottom to the point where you could actually see the inside of that bulb, like in this case, the shallot, when I split it apart, I wasn't very careful and I snapped it at the base. Without the base there, it's not going to have anywhere to grow roots from. So this is a shallot that is not worth planting because it's just going to rot. There's no way for it to produce roots. So I've set this aside to use it for dinner tonight. Now let's talk about why I have these soggy bags of garlic. Well, that's because they've all been soaked in this solution here. This is a mixture of alcohols. You could use the cheapest alcohol you could get, whether that's like the bottom shelf vodka, or in this case, it's isopropyl rubbing alcohol. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is that by putting your garlic in the solution, like I'll do with this elephant garlic right here, what it does is it sterilizes the outside. Now you might think, In general, sterilizing in the garden, maybe not the best thing because you're gonna kill all of your sort of life on that bulb. But the thing is that you have a lot of life in your soil, and the next step after this is actually going to be a fertilizer soak. So you don't have to worry about sort of killing anything good. The main thing you're really worried about here is killing something bad. So this is, again, either vodka, rubbing alcohol, it's all fine, but you wanna do this soak for about 10 minutes. Once you do that, you could then take it out, and I like to let it dry a little bit because I don't want to transfer all that alcohol into this fertilizer solution. The fertilizer solution itself is very simple. You just take your favorite fertilizer. In this case, I'm using AgroThrive, and you mix it according to the package. The next thing you do is you take your garlic. So I have a tag in here that says what the variety is, and I'm going to go ahead and drop it right in. And this soak can be very variable. You could do it for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 days, 3 days. The longer you do it though, the more chance of it developing roots. And that's totally fine, but if your garlic clove has roots, then you have to be very careful about transplanting it. So I'm gonna probably go for about a 30-minute soak. What this does is, this is a mix again of AgroThrive fertilizer, and I also put a little bit of mycorrhizal inoculant in here. The idea is that it's going to soak into the papers, soak onto the roots, and when I transplant this garlic, it's going to have a nice jump start. So that's all there is in terms of like the prep before you plant. So once we let this soak for a bit, we could go over how I'm gonna prep my bed and how I'm gonna space and plant this garlic. So we're over here in the north garden, and this is the bed where this particular garlic batch is going to go. I'm probably gonna have 2 garlic beds because I have a lot of garlic, but the reason why I'm doing the hardneck garlic here is that this is by far the coldest microclimate in my garden. This is an area where actually this spring, I had my hose laid out here and I came out in the morning, and being a San Diegan, I had no idea what was going on because I tried to pick up the hose and it was basically a solid rod, and the hose entirely froze with ice all the way through. So I've personally never seen that in San Diego. So I remembered, I was like, this will be the place where I want to put my hardneck garlic. Because like I mentioned, hardneck garlic likes the cold weather. So this is the perfect place to utilize that space. So all these pepper plants are gonna go. I'm not going to overwinter any of these, but if you wanted to watch an overwintering video, I have one. But for now, I'm gonna just set them aside and pick off the ripe peppers later. All right, well, that honestly felt really good to remove all those peppers. It's like I just washed my hands of summer and I'm ready for fall now. So in terms of bed prep here, what we're going to do is keep it very basic. Like I said, the soil should be pretty healthy. So we're gonna go grab a wheelbarrow of compost and spread it out. All right, so we got a wheelbarrow of compost, keeping it simple here. And actually, before I spread this compost, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this irrigation out. And I'll talk about why I'm doing it later when we get to the actual planting. So garlic is a pretty heavy feeder. The main thing that it wants to feed on, at least at the beginning of the year, is nitrogen. So this compost here is actually a manure-based compost. It has some dairy manure with the greens. And what that means is that I should be getting a lot more nitrogen. And that's exactly what I want at this earlier time of year. As the garlic matures, you want to keep feeding it nitrogen as it's growing. But as it gets closer to its final stage of growth where it's bulbing, you want to switch to something, either no fertilizer or something that's going to help it root, something like a potassium or a phosphorus. So we're going to just go ahead and do it about an inch layer maybe across the whole top. Like I said, very simple bed prep, but now we need to build out the irrigation. And the reason why I pulled out the irrigation is that I like to plant garlic about 6 inches apart. And so I'm going to switch to an emitter that is 6 inches apart. So I have perfect watering and perfect spacing to get giant bulbs of garlic. The irrigation is in, the bed is complete. It's looking really good, I have to say. And the last thing to do is to dibble 100 holes in this bed, probably another 100 in a different bed. But what I did here is I have an old tool handle that actually snapped while I was using it. And so I cut off, I smoothed it down, made a slight point on it, and I burnt it up to about 4 inches. So that's gonna be my rough planting depth. I might go a little bit deeper, maybe up to 6, but the idea is that you just push down, make your hole, and the spacing that I'm doing here, like I mentioned, is about 6 inches. That is the exact spacing that my emitters are, which makes it really easy to control my spacing, and that's actually one of the main reasons I upgraded this irrigation. So what I'm gonna do here is grab the, let's see, the Russian red. So you can see it's all soaked, straight out of the vat. And my hands will smell a little bit funny now because I'll have all this fertilizer on me. But let's see, I got one in here. And the idea here behind this fertilizer soak is that this fertilizer is now able to kind of coat the garlic and sort of get inside of the papery skins. And what that's gonna do is provide that first little jump start of nutrition to help make sure that this garlic grows well before we get into winter. So it's a little bit of insurance. All right, well, now I've got about 100 more holes to make, but make sure to subscribe so you can see how this garlic harvest goes when I get into that late spring, early summer time period. But until then, I'll catch you guys next time.